These are two PowerA controllers for Nintendo Switch and PC. This is wired and this is wireless. Everyone says wired is always better than wireless because of the direct connection, but how better is it? Is the price difference worth it? In this video, we're going to dive into this comparison by testing the input reaction time between the two, and if there's any noticeable delay difference. I'm going to be testing these on both the original Nintendo Switch and PC, well, laptop. I'll be using my wired Razer mouse to serve as the highest standard used to compare the controllers, as well as my original Joy-Cons. I don't have an official Nintendo Switch Pro controller, so the mouse is the best I can do. But that's fine because I'm not here to compare the Pro controller with PowerA, it's more to see the difference between wired versus wireless. We're going to be testing this with 4 types of games to better suit a wide range of people. For the shooters, we're going to test it with Overwatch 2 on both Switch and PC. I know COD is more appropriate, but Overwatch is more accessible. For action and adventure, we'll play Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. For casual play, we'll go with Animal Crossing New Horizons. And for horror games, we'll test it with Resident Evil 7 on PC. And don't worry, there will be no spoilers, I picked a really safe spot. Quick intro, PowerA is an officially licensed brand by Nintendo. I know it doesn't sound like it, and I didn't believe it at first either, but they're listed on the official Nintendo website. So this is not some cheap knockoff that you find for $10 on Amazon or something. I did get these on sale from Amazon, but they're originally worth a pretty penny, so they better mean something. Full disclaimer, this video is not reflective of every single wired and wireless controller out there that exists. This is just to give you a general idea of what to expect. Your experience may vary, I'm just sharing mine with you. Now let's do a quick unboxing and then talk about their features. Starting with the wired one, as we open it up, we see it comes with a 10 feet long micro USB to USB-A cable. I'll show you how long this is later. And here we pull out the main controller, doesn't come with anything else. Next up is our wireless one. And as I open it up, I see that it actually is encased in plastic, which I'm surprised the other controller wasn't. Seems like this one was given some more priority, but anyways. Here it is in all its glory, and it comes with 2 AA batteries. If you think I went fast with all of this, it's okay because we're going to take a deeper dive now. Now, the first thing I noticed is that the wired controller actually has pretty large joysticks compared to the wireless controller, which has pretty small joysticks. You can see if I put my finger here, there's still space around it. Meanwhile, on the wireless one, there is no space around it. My Joy-Con's joystick has a grip on it, which it's been so long I don't even remember what it looks like without the grip, but basically it's the same size as the wired controller's joystick, as you can see here. It fits on perfectly. Whereas on the wireless one, it's definitely much bigger than it. Also, random, this looks like a little guy wearing a hat. It just reminds me of that for some reason. Anyways. See, the wireless one can't even stand up on its own because the joysticks are so small. Meanwhile, the wired one is supported pretty well on its own. Wireless joysticks are also kind of concave, so they sink in a little bit, whereas wired are more flat. Now, of course, like I said before, not every single wired and wireless controller will have these same properties, but it's just something to keep in mind in case you have large hands, large fingers, and you want something more comfortable. Now for buttons. The wireless one comes with 3 extra buttons that the wired one does not have, and these 3 buttons are useful for button mapping that you can use in certain games that have a lot of controls. They're not absolutely necessary, but it's good to have. Quick size comparison with our Joy-Cons, the difference is massive. If you're struggling with using the tiny buttons on the Joy-Con, it wouldn't hurt to consider upgrading. I like my Joy-Cons, but the controller is huge and I can confirm it's very comfortable. Okay, this next part is huge to me. Texture and sounds. Okay, volume up, listen. My overall thoughts, the wired one felt a little plasticky, but not too cheap, not in a bad way, it was fine. It was pretty slippery, and I don't think it'll easily leave scratch marks. At least, I don't think. The wireless one was definitely more soft and matte, and I mean that in a good way. It felt more professional than the wired one. Definitely not slippery, and it could get scratch marks if you really dig your nails into it, which I didn't want to do. I was wincing at the scratch test. I did not want to scratch it. Okay, now let's do something interesting. Let's do a weight test. First, let's weigh our wired controller without the wire. and it comes to a decent 185 grams. Next is our wireless controller without the batteries. Comes to 157 grams. And now with the batteries, it comes to 205 grams. Now here are my two Animal Crossing Edition Joy-Cons. They have a clear casing on them, which are really hard to take off, so I'm not gonna do it, I'm sorry. But they come to 157 grams. Now here is the Joy-Con Comfort Grip that the Nintendo Switch comes with, just for your reference if you need, and it comes to 97 grams. Now the most important measurement of all, the Nintendo Switch Pro Controller, which comes in at about 246 grams. Definitely has a more premium feel than PowerA. I don't have it in my hands, but you can tell by the weight alone. So it's up to you if you're okay with that or not. Here is a quick summary of all of the weights we found. You can pause for your reference if you need it. Now there are some very important lack of features to note. These controllers have no rumble features, no gyro controls, and no NFC reader for amiibos. These are all things that even the basic Joy-Con comes with. So if these are important to you, either stick with your Joy-Cons or get a Pro Controller. Now for the fun stuff, the game test. I put some timestamps here. You can watch all of them or just skip to the one that suits you best. Setting up the wired controller is really easy. All you have to do is just open up the back of the Nintendo Switch dock, plug it into the USB port, plug in your controller, and boom, you're good to go. This is how long the 10 feet cable is. So I'm not completely stretching it out here. It's still like going downwards. This is fine for me. You can compare your setup to this. Pairing wireless is really easy. Just go to controllers on the main menu. Hold down the sync button on the top for first time pairing. And the Switch detects it really quickly. You should have no problems. Okay, so for Overwatch 2, we're going to be using Soldier 76 because if you're playing other shooter games, he's the most similar because he's the only classic shooter. So my primary fire is bound to ZR. Here is his rifle, and I'm going to be shooting that robot. This here is wired versus wireless. I tried my best to match up my finger pressing ZR. And as you can see here, they seem pretty much the same. Here is wireless versus my wired mouse on PC, laptop really. Just to note, Overwatch on Switch is 30 FPS and my laptop, I capped it to 60 FPS for this video. The strange thing is, it looks like I'm firing 1 or 2 more bullets on my Switch than my laptop, which is why the robot is dying faster. I don't really know why though. I'm pressing both buttons at the same time and trying not to hold it. Is that a thing that controllers do? They just auto-compensate for any delay by firing more bullets? I don't know. But I haven't really seen any difference in the input time so far, as you've seen. Just look at the continuous firing. It is crisp and in sync. All good. Here I bound primary to A instead of ZR, and you can see that they still fire at the same time. I still feel like controller fires more bullets though, so unless I'm crazy, if any controller enthusiasts out there can explain it, please do. And now for the wired controller versus wired mouse. Same thing. It fires at the same time as the mouse, but it's killing the robot faster. Now let's do a quick jump test. I have jump bound to B and my spacebar. Okay, now this is an egregious difference. It is so delayed on the wired one compared to my laptop. I am for sure pressing them at the same time and you can see the massive difference in the jumping. I'm not quite sure if this has anything to do with the 30 FPS difference or is the wire just really delayed. And unfortunately, it's the same case on the wireless controller. The jumping is so late compared to my laptop. Okay, Animal Crossing time. We'll make this short and sweet. So here I have wired versus wireless versus Joy-Cons. I really tried my best to sync up my hand movements between the 3 scenes, and in case anything is slightly off, I do apologize for that, but while I was playing, I felt like there was really no delay difference. To sit down in Animal Crossing, we hold the joystick down, and to get up, we just flick it up. So as you can see, I'm doing that here, and it's fine. Same thing with the wireless, everything is chill. These are how it looks with the Joy-Cons, no difference. The only thing I will say is that since the wired controller's joystick is larger, it needs a little bit more effort to push. I'm not saying it's stiff or hard, it's just that since it's bigger, my finger needs to push it maybe a 1mm extra distance as opposed to the wireless one which has a smaller joystick. So with this one I can make more quicker movements because there's less to push as opposed to the other one. But besides that, they are exactly the same. Take a look at opening the menu with the X button. It's in sync. Beautiful. Now it's time for Zelda. So unfortunately, I don't know why I was moving around Link in the wired scene, I'm just noticing it now. But I can confidently tell you that they both feel exactly the same. There is no difference in delay or input reaction time, anything like that. Here we have a short little scene of walking around a hill and then opening the Sheikah scope. I really didn't see any difference between wired and wireless. They're both just genuinely the same. Here I quickly killed a Boko. I like to call it Boko. I used the wired controller here, but I forgot to put it on screen because I was comfortable enough to sit back. So I hope that indicates to you guys that it's pretty good. And same with the wireless, everything is chill. Now for PC gamers, we're going to try Resident Evil 7. Now don't worry, there are no spoilers. Just to note, the following footage will have the main character with a weapon, and the location is in one of the very first places in the game where you normally would have no weapon. I had to walk all the way back. And this place is in the trailer, if you've watched the trailer. There's also a slight spoiler with a very common monster at this timestamp. I'll warn you ahead of time if you need it. Pairing the wireless controller to my laptop is really easy. You just hold the sync button and turn on Bluetooth, and it's right there. And it's also easily picked up by Steam. I just had to enable one quick thing in the settings, and that's it. And the wired one is literally just plug and play. You don't have to do anything else. Now here's a test with all 4 controllers. And in slow motion. Looks like everything is in sync, no delay. Very slight spoiler ahead. Okay, I've never used a controller with a first-person game until today, so please pardon my janky, slow, weird gameplay. I'm more used to mouse and keyboard for first-person, but I still wanted to show you how these controllers would be used practically. And as you can see here, there really isn't a problem, everything is fine. I'm able to play smoothly, and if there's any problem, that's really on me for just not being used to it. But there is no delay, no interference, no disturbance. I'm even using my Joy-Cons, everything is fine. In my opinion, playing these types of games on mouse and keyboard is better because they have more fluid movements, as you can see here. If I were to do this on a controller, it'd be a lot slower, as you can see. I can play Zelda on controller no problem, but any first-person games, especially if there's shooting involved, I just can't. It's all down to habit. And if you have a habit of using a controller, I can gladly tell you that these two have the same quality. But now, how do you know which one to pick? I'm gonna give you guys a summary of everything, but before that, I want to mention one important thing. So let's say you have a MacBook, a Switch Lite, or a regular Switch that you wanted to play on tabletop mode. The wireless one can connect to them just fine, but the wired one cannot because there is no USB-A port on the Switch itself or modern MacBooks. There is a USB-A port on the Switch dock, but not on the actual physical body of the Switch. And of course the Switch Lite doesn't even have a dock. It is still possible to use a wired controller on a MacBook, Switch Lite, or Switch in tabletop mode. You would just need to buy a separate adapter. Okay, now let's summarize everything. For wired, it has a 10 feet cable. It needs a USB-A port, so be sure to plan out now if you need to buy an adapter or not. Most PowerA wired controllers have large, flat joysticks and a plastic build, 185 grams. And it has the same performance as the wireless controller along with my Joy-Cons and wired mouse. For wireless, it has 3 extra buttons on the back you can use for button mapping. It needs 2 AA batteries. Some of them come with chargers, but mine doesn't. Most PowerA wireless controllers have smaller, slightly concave joysticks. It's still plastic, but it feels a little bit more premium than wired, 205 grams with batteries. And it performs exactly the same as the wired controller, wired mouse, and Joy-Cons. I'm pleasantly surprised to see that the wired and wireless do not have any visible input time difference between the two. Now, technically speaking, the wired should be like a millisecond faster than the wireless one. So if you play a shooter or even Smash, then you know that every single frame in millisecond counts. In that case, you should probably stick to wired. But if you're not playing highly competitive games, it doesn't matter. They're both perfect for you. The Pro controller is $80 US, whereas PowerA is half or even a quarter of that. So if you don't care about rumble, gyro, NFC, the texture and weight and all that, then I say you get PowerA. Personally, I'm going to be keeping my wireless one and I'm going to use it only on my non-shooter games. Alright, I think I've harped on this long enough, but if this video helped you even a little bit, that would be awesome. I hope you have a good day or good night wherever you are, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye!